Well, everybody, I'm back from vacation, fresh back from vacation, ready to package tea, ready to fill the tea orders. Don't worry, these tea orders are getting filled. I'm just taking a break here to make a YouTube video. Historically, since the Boston Tea Party, there has been no tariffs on tea. Tea tariffs. We're facing tariffs, but we're also facing tea tariffs. Tea should still be tariff-free because, not just because it has been since the Boston Tea Party, but this is the Chen Hao. It translates to clean storage, which is kind of a funny name for pu'er, right? A funny name for tea. So I'm gonna tell you guys a little story. This was back in the old days when I was living in Taiwan. When I'd come home to visit, I would bring a suitcase full of tea. When I would get to customs, I just wrote, okay, this tea, it was pretty expensive, like a Lishan. I remember this one batch specifically. In this case, it was a really nice batch of charcoal roasted autumn Lishan harvest tea. Is this for business? And I said, yes, it's for my business. First they said, oh, so you're a collector, a private collector. And I was like, no, I have a business, I'm gonna sell this tea to my customers. And he was like, oh, well then, we're gonna have to charge you the tariff. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure there's no tariff on tea. Where he got out the huge book of tariffs and he said, everything on God's green earth is in this book. So, alphabetically, he's flipping through, he gets to the tea, gets to the word tea. No tariffs. And this guy was pissed. They're trying to do their job, they're trying to protect the country, and they're trying to keep people safe. This was pre 9/11. After 9/11, it became even more difficult to import tea because then they had the Bioterrorism Act, right? So the Bioterrorism Act made it much more difficult to import food and other food-related items to the United States. And what you had to do, and probably still have to do, is you had to contact with the FDA prior to the import, and you had to do a prior notification and let them know that, yes, this is, I'm bringing some tea in, and that way they would be ready, I guess, to inspect the tea in whatever manner they deemed fit. Doing something like YouTube, it's really fun for me. Now, one of the things I was thinking about is, what is my overall goal with the YouTube videos? And a lot of it is to connect with you, the viewer, and to connect with people that might not know they like tea and help them get into tea. It's a lot of work to create a YouTube following, and I've been learning about it, and it's fun to learn these new things. Say we're getting more and more orders as time goes on. And this is sort of the natural progression of a business operated well. Over time, you develop more relationships and more people find your business. A lot of the type of accounts that we have, they weren't an overnight success. It didn't happen all at once. We were like, hey, we're here, we've got the great tea. Nobody really cares. And that was something that took me a long time to understand, is that even if you have what you think of as the best product, better isn't necessarily the thing that helps people make a decision to support your business. A lot of it is about the direct relationship you have with the customer, or the service you're able to provide, or the convenience you provide, or the stability, or the consistency. It's not the best thing, it's their thing, meaning it's available. That's constantly something that is a hard lesson to learn for somebody like me that was a real stickler, and still is, for quality. Business takes time to develop, and same with the YouTube. And another YouTube video, I thought, creating a YouTube video where I'm focused on drinking tea, where for like, say, 30 days, I only drink tea and water. No beer, no alcohol, no coffee, and no milk, no juice, nothing. Tea and water only. And then I do a exercise regime, and then I try to see if this tea consumption combined with the exercise, I can create a performance boost. And so one of the crazy ideas I have is to try and reach out to Cameron Haynes, because Cam Haynes lives in Springfield, Oregon, and he grew up in Springfield, Oregon, which is just across the river from where I am right now. We're in Eugene. So Cam, if you hear about this or you're watching this, shout out to you. I think you're amazing. I think you have an amazing story. When I listened to your book the first time, now I'm speaking directly to Cam, but when I listened to Cam's book for the first time, it was really crazy because I always look for books that I can listen to that give me inspiration because I like to run. And when I'm running, I like to listen to things that help me kind of egg me on and go, oh, you know, I'm just going to keep running. One of the great books I read was Outlive by Peter Attia. This was an amazing book to listen to when you run because you listen to that book and you're like, oh shit, I'm going to run. I'm really going to run. I'm going to run an extra mile. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get the healthy mitochondria to replace the old mitochondria. And you learn about the benefits of exercise while you're exercising. And that was just for me one of the things that really pushed me and helped me towards fitness, right? Well, I picked up this book from Cameron Haynes. I forget what the title was, but I was listening to it and I didn't know who this person was. I didn't know anything about this book. I just figured, oh, this seems like a good, I might have listened to the preview, I'm not sure. But so I download the book, I'm listening to it, I'm running, and he's talking about growing up in Springfield, Oregon, and even Eugene, Oregon, and I'm just like, what? His dad was a famous track coach for, I think, either South Eugene or the U of O. I'm not sure. But, you know, he talks a lot about where I grew up and his experience. And so I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. And another fun fact, something else Cam and I have in common, is he spent a lot of time in the Wallowas. Now, when he's in the Wallowas, he's bow hunting, and he's basically doing this super intense, where he's like a mountain man. But he's a mountain man. He's going and bow hunting and killing a bull elk, and then figuring out how to dismember it and hang it in a tree so he can, basically, he trains his strength so he can carry this elk out. It's crazy. Well, when I was in college, I spent 6 weeks in the Wallowas, where a group of friends and I, we did a self-guided anthropological class, and it was called Special Problems at the U of O. We created the class, and what the class was we went to the Wallowas, and we spent 6 weeks experiencing extreme states, meaning we built a sweat lodge, we had, hiked basically to the extent of our capacity in carrying in all of our goods, and had a base camp, and then from that base camp we would hike around in certain circles, and we had this place where we used to eat dinner called the Chrome Dome. We named it that. It was this big, huge rock. We'd cook our dinner in the camp, and then we'd climb up to the top of this rock with our dinner and eat our dinner and watch the sunset. And it was just a very unique experience, and it helped me develop a special connection with this place called the Wallowas, which is the Alps of Oregon. It's an amazing place, and it's not to be taken lightly. I'm not trying to drop a pin. I mean, the Wallowas are some of the most pristine nature in the United States, in the continental United States. We found these ice caves because when we were there, it was a massive mosquito season, and we were like suffering so hard. We called it the bloodletting, where the mosquitoes would come, and basically all day the mosquitoes would just drain us. And we were just like, this. We had to try to figure out ways to cover up our body. It was just insane. And so eventually we were hiking, and we found these ice caves. And this was in the summer, but we were high enough up that there was these, almost like a glacier, covering a river that was running down at the bottom. And the wind would jet out of this ice tunnel. And so we would just spend our days then at the end of that jet of cold refreshing air, because the mosquitoes couldn't fly around there. They'd just get blasted away. So we were just like, oh, we found our special place. But you couldn't spend all day at the ice caves, or we didn't want to camp there because it was on a hill. It's like, but that's where we'd go and just chill out. It was pretty cool. But yeah, the Wallowas are amazing, and I know I totally got onto like probably 2 or 3 subjects here. Tariffs are bad. Cam Haynes' book is cool. Cam, if you're watching this, shout out. I want to see if you're interested in doing an experiment where we figure out a tea program for you, like a 30-day tea program, and see how that affects your performance as an ultra marathon runner and an ultra athlete. It could be interesting because I know you've done some coffee deals, and we're a very small company. It's just that we have a little bit of things in common. There's a little bit of overlap. So when I learned about you via your book, I was like, what? This is crazy. So yeah, shout out to Cam Haynes. Deal or no deal, business or no business, much respect. I hope to run into you one day in Mount Pisgah. And another goal I had, or another idea I had, was to go make tea at the top of Mount Pisgah on your rock that you, it's not yours, but on the rock that you jump on at the end of your run. And then I'd be like, oh, I gotta move that tea tray. Sorry, Cam. And then, jump up. And then, hey, you want to try a shot of pu'er tea? Have you ever had pu'er or oolong? And then, yeah, that would be a fun way to start that, to get to know you or to introduce myself. That'd be a fun way to introduce myself to you. Anyway, regardless, thank you all for watching. I remember one day in the tea house where there was a customer that said, well, it's not like you're doing anything really important. It's not like you're saving the world or anything. And I was like, excuse me, this is my livelihood. This is about as important as it gets to me, So I get it. I'm not curing cancer. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a humble tea servant. I buy and sell tea. It's not very complicated. If you're wondering, we're located on Friendly Street in Eugene, Oregon. It's a really unique business, and we would love to hear from you. We got to stop these tea tariffs before they start. Like I said before, this whole tea house right now is filled with tariff-free tea.